This is the John Brown Alliance, where we don't fear, we fight. We're old school, unscripted, and we understand the assignment. Join us this September 1st through 5th for our first general strike. This will consist of days of different actions with themes that will draw attention to the different parts of the American society that's being attacked right now by the Trump administration. I'll give you more information on that later, or we'll put up another video about that. Once again, let me remind you, if you like and subscribe to this video, it costs nothing. However, I think we have something like 12 subscribers right now, so I'm hoping to get a bigger audience. Not because we're making money off of this, not because this is doing anything for me personally, but because there is a society of good people out there who still want to put out information to help and educate other people. So, in advance, let me tell you, please don't come at me with this MAGA bullshit, because I'm too intelligent for that. If you have a question or concern or something you want an answer to, feel free to comment. But I don't need dipshit comments from idiots, that they're smoking too much or whatever. I don't have time for that. Okay, I look like this, and the people that are sending me these messages probably are white people and MAGA supporters. It is not my job to entertain you. So do me a huge solid and fuck off. Now, before I do this segment, I also want to point out that what I'm about to discuss is nothing more than something to deviate your attention away from the Epstein files. But I do want to address it because I think it's important for people to understand exactly how this impacts Native America. Now, since the 1990s, I and members out here who were around the Washington, D.C. area at the time of the American Indian movement protested games by the Washington Redskins simply because of the name. And not just the name, it's a racial slur. Now, I don't care what you think about the name. I don't care about what black people think that represents Washington, D.C., or other people dictating to Native Americans how they should feel about that name. If that's the case, then as soon, and I promise you, as they decide they're going to change the name back to the Washington Redskins and offend me, I'm going to set up the biggest GoFundMe anybody's ever seen. And I'm going to start something. I don't care if it's basket weaving. But the name on the top is going to be the Appalachian Honkies, or the Peckerwoods of Pennsylvania, or something like that. Because I want you to feel what we have felt since the first white person landed here. Now, I'm going to talk about what the environment was like back then. Back in the 1990s, for everybody else in America, pretty much, because you had affirmative action and things like that, everything was kind of cool. The economy was cooled down, people were making money, all that, was a great thing. And the ignored population at that time, before Latinos started coming to America in the numbers that they have been, was Native Americans. And we were unseen and unheard and all that. Now, when we first started our protest, our greatest opposition was black people centered around Washington, D.C. And for the life of me, I couldn't figure out why that was. Why would you, as people whose ancestors survived slavery, sit there and sanction and say it's okay for another race to be ostracized, demonized. We had red face like the Cleveland Indians and all that, and the Waha and all that tomahawk shit. We had all that going on here, and I found it very offensive. Now, if you are white, black, or any other race, and you don't find that offensive, you have an obligation to shut the fuck up. Because it is not you that these myths are perpetrated against. This is why I understand someone like Muhammad Ali. The Buffalo Soldiers, which black people celebrate like they're some kind of fucking heroes, came out to the West after slavery to kill my people. Now, I'm probably related to some of these people because I'm a lot of different races. But they distinctly were ordered by the United States government to go out and kill Indians so that white people could settle that land. Not black people, white people could take over these territories and make millions of dollars off of oil and cattle and everything you can possibly think of. Black people back then, the Buffalo Soldiers, in my opinion, were the Maga of today. They were used, galvanized, filled with the other and hatred for the other so much that they were willing to get on horses, don American uniforms, badges, and go out and slaughter Native Americans. That's what they did. But yet, if you go into black history and you read about that, because just as much as we have a problem with the original sin of slavery, we have a problem with black people and how they failed to acknowledge the atrocities they committed against Native Americans. They put that stuff on and represented the United States government and went out and killed Native Americans. Just like right now is happening with ICE. Just rounding folks up based on rumor and killing them. So let's get back to this Washington Redskin thing, which I really didn't want to spend all this time on. But at any rate, when I was working with the East Coast members, and it wasn't a club, and identified members of the American Indian Movement, and we were going to these games, black people were literally spitting on us, putting mustard all over us and ketchup all over us from their hot dogs that they bought. This is what black people did to us that never got reported. And the reason I think that happened, in all honesty, is because the racism at that time was happening to someone else. And black people felt it was okay to other us. Because for once in American history, they weren't being othered. Just like with the Buffalo Soldiers. But when those same Buffalo Soldiers came back to the East, they were dealing with the rise of the Ku Klux Klan then. They were dealing with the dismantling of civil rights during the Reconstruction period. And they were subject to hangings and things like Black Wall Street. But somehow, just like now, while you have so many black politicians in Congress doing absolutely nothing to keep the rest of us out of danger, they're not speaking out. These are the new Buffalo Soldiers. These are the new people that spat on me, that poured mustard and ketchup all over me. These black people in Congress are the antithesis of the slave. They are exactly what the white American government wanted back when they wanted to use black people to clear Indian country. That's what they're doing right now. That's why they remain silent, because their legacy is less important to them than a job. You can always get another job, but you can't change how you reacted to history. So, Donald Trump has decided that we need to concentrate now on returning all the racist Indian names to all the football teams and anything else, Right now, that's his focus. And in case you haven't noticed, every time Donald Trump is bombarded with a lot of controversy, he picks the biggest possible and most offensive thing to tweet about, because that's how he tweets. In this, we keep buying into this bullshit. We just keep doing it. And I want this, honestly, to be the first and last you hear about this. Let it come from a Native American telling you that I'm not going to be the scapegoat. I just want to talk about this subject and let it go. And let me also address that if you are black or white in America, you have no right to dictate to Native Americans how they should feel about a name like the Washington Redskins. No right whatsoever. Keep your mouth shut. I'm also tired of people telling me or asking me, what reservation do you come from? Well, so-and-so told me this and that, so it must be true. Crack open a fucking book. You don't validate me or tell me what race I am or who I am based on something you read. The days of white people dictating someone else's race or perpetuating myths about it are over. They are over. So I don't need anybody contacting me about what I look like and I'm too dark for the Hollywood movies and this bullshit. Okay? If I look something other than Native American to you, you look like an asshole to me. And that's going to be my response, because you are uneducated, judgmental, and entitled. And you do not get to tell other people who they are. And that goes for everything else. What you need to do is have a cup of shut the fuck up. Because your white privilege days are over. And it took me something like, 30 years to make this video about this. But you do not have the right, as white people in America, to decide who's what race, or who deserves this, or who deserves that. You know who's going to decide that in the next 20 years? Us. And you better be on the right side of America. Because we're taking notes and we're taking names. And every time one of you dipshits contacts me on YouTube, I look up who you are, I know where you come from, and all that. So come correct or don't come at all. Because I ain't no lightweight, and I don't have time for your bullshit. Okay, so that's what I got to say on that. This is the John Brown Alliance. Have a nice day.